Are you ready for some football? That's the question that gets asked every Monday night. For the past 50 years, Monday Night Football, through all its ups and downs, has been a staple of American pop culture. The idea of playing football on a Monday night is second nature to every NFL fan. So it might be crazy to think that 50 years ago, when the idea was proposed, it was nearly shot down. Monday Night Football almost never happened. This is the story of how one network's gamble ended up paying off and changed the future of football forever. Before talking about the actual program of Monday Night Football, it's important to note that the idea of playing games on a Monday wasn't something completely unforeseen. In 1968, 1 year before signing the deal, there had been a few games played on Monday night for one reason or another. In Week 1 that season, the Rams and the Cardinals met on a Monday night at Busch Stadium. And in Week 7, the rematch of the Ice Bowl between the Packers and the Cowboys took place on a Monday night at the Cotton Bowl. But these games were one-offs. During the 1960s, you maybe saw one game take place on Monday night each year. And if you happen to watch one of these Monday night games, odds are, for whatever reason, it involved the St. Louis Cardinals. At this point, Commissioner Pete Rozelle wanted to expand this concept to an entire season. With the merger between the NFL and AFL taking effect in 1970, Rozelle was in the mindset of negotiating a brand new television contract to coincide with that. So he floated a bold idea around: Monday Night Football. One game on Monday night each week of the season. And when he pitched this idea to CBS and NBC, they shot it down. In hindsight, this looks ridiculous. Why would a major network turn down the opportunity to have the only NFL game of the day? But when you look at the networks and their history, the move makes a lot more sense. In the 1968-69 television season, 5 of the top 9 programs in terms of ratings came on Monday night. For NBC, they were thriving on Monday night. At 8 o'clock every Monday, NBC aired Laugh-In, which was the number 1 rated program of the year. It averaged a 31.8 rating, which was the highest rating of any television program in the past 3 seasons, and was widely regarded as one of the greatest television shows of its time. If they decided to get Monday Night Football, they'd have to move their number 1 show to a different night. And as for CBS, even though they didn't have the number 1 program that year, they were running train on the rest of the competition with regards to their Monday night slate. From 7:30 to 10 o'clock on any Monday night, you'd see Gunsmoke, Here's Lucy, Mayberry RFD, and Family Affair back to back to back to back. And all 4 of those shows during the 1968-69 season finished inside the top 9 in television ratings. If you're CBS, are you really going to take a gamble on football if it means moving or getting rid of Lucille Ball? Again, you're probably not going to do that. Here's a more modern example. Imagine if, in 1996, Commissioner Paul Tagliabue decided that he wanted to play football on Thursday nights, and he called up NBC to see if they were interested. Odds are, NBC would have shut the door in Tagliabue's face. If I'm NBC, I could stick with what I'm doing by showing Seinfeld and Friends and dominating television, or I could show a football game that only appeals to sports fans and may or may not be a good or an attractive matchup. So it's no real surprise that CBS and NBC weren't interested in Monday Night Football. There was this notion that women dominated the audience in primetime hours, and that showing a football game in primetime hours would have been ratings suicide. Those 2 networks were doing just fine on their own without football on Mondays. And as the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But there was one network that was willing to take a gamble. There was one network that had absolutely nothing to lose. Enter ABC. As I mentioned before, CBS and NBC were doing very well for themselves in the ratings in the late 60s. The same could not be said about the other network in the Big Three. Of the top 30 television programs in terms of ratings during the 1968-69 season, ABC had a grand total of none of them. People who were watching television at the time were watching the other networks. At 7:30 on Monday nights on ABC, primetime started off with The Avengers. No, not those Avengers. These Avengers. Then it was followed at 8:30 by Peyton Place. This was followed at 9 o'clock by The Outcasts. I'm not going to get into that show. And then at 9:30, it was followed by The Big Valley. Of these 4 shows, literally none of them would get renewed for the 1969-70 season. ABC's primetime slate on Monday nights was really bad. The ratings, in a word, were atrocious. They needed something to give them a spark. And that's where the NFL came in. The NFL wanted Monday Night Football to happen, and they turned to ABC to do it. Except even ABC was reluctant to do this deal. Again, this was a huge gamble at the time, and even though ABC really had nothing to lose, they were really hesitant to sign this deal to get Monday Night Football. Nobody knew if this would work. And after negotiations between the NFL and ABC stalled, the NFL offered an ultimatum to ABC. Sign the deal, or we'll try our hands at Monday Night Football on the Hughes television network. Now, HTN wasn't a national network, but they were primarily known for broadcasting sporting events, and CBS, NBC, and ABC affiliates had the option of televising their games. HTN gave the NFL a lot of money, and had the league accepted the deal, it was reported that at least half of ABC's affiliates would have carried Monday Night Football anyway. With this threat made, ABC signed the deal. As part of the deal, ABC would televise 13 games on Monday night each year from 1970 to 1972, for what was a reported price of $18 million. This came out to $6 million per season. And the rest, as they say, is history.
15 seconds to air. Stand by, all cameras.
Ready with slow motion and isolated cameras.
Stand by, videotape, and roll tape.
And tape is rolling in less than 5, in 3, 2, 1.
Take tape.
After signing the deal in 1969, ABC still had one more year where they needed to fill out their fall primetime schedule. None of the programs they aired on Monday night for primetime worked. The Music Scene, The New People, and The Survivors all got canceled after just 1 year. CBS was still dominating, and Laugh-In on NBC was still the #1 program in America. In 1970, though, ABC aired their first ever Monday Night Football game between the Jets and the Browns. For years, they had trouble filling out their Monday lineup. Little did they know that this gamble they took would solve that problem for the next 35 years. In 1971, the game pulled a 20.9 rating, which ranked inside the top 25 for all TV programs in the country. Now, this might not seem like a huge accomplishment when compared to what CBS and NBC were doing, but for ABC, this was a huge win. It was the first time since the Rat Patrol in the 1966-1967 season that one of ABC's Monday night programs finished inside the top 25 in ratings. For the first time in half a decade, people were starting to tune into ABC on Mondays. And then, in 1972, the game pulled a 21 rating, which ranked number 18 that season. This was the first time since Ben Casey in the 1962-63 season that one of ABC's Monday night programs was inside the top 20. After years and years of searching for a hit to compete with the other two networks on Mondays, they finally got one. Monday Night Football had become must-see television. And for the past half-century, football has graced our screens every Monday night during the fall. You can thank ABC and their lackluster lineup in the 1960s for that. Because if it wasn't for ABC's gamble, who knows whether or not we'd have rowdy friends to celebrate Monday night with.